Chosen one, do not move. Do not dismiss this as just another fleeting moment. You are here for a reason. This is no accident. Everything in your life has led to this exact point, and whether you perceive it or not, an immense weight beyond human comprehension is pressing upon you. This is not just another message. It is the unveiling of something hidden, something that has lingered in the shadows, observing, waiting. But now, the moment of revelation has arrived. The forces that sought to silence, break, and consume you, they have failed, not because they lacked strength, but because they encountered something beyond their understanding. You. A demon was sent to destroy you. Its mission was clear: obliterate your essence, extinguish your presence, and ensure you never rise. Yet, what transpired next was not within its calculations. It underestimated you. What should have been an effortless triumph for darkness turned into an unexpected confrontation. It did not merely see you, it felt you. Your very existence disrupted its reality, and for the first time it hesitated. This was no mistake. Your light did not just resist, it dismantled. The force that was meant to consume you was instead consumed by an unshakable presence radiating from within. It expected fear, panic, submission, but it encountered something far more dangerous. A force it could not manipulate, an essence that would not waver, a truth that shattered its deception. From that moment, nothing remained the same, not for it, not for you, not for the balance of the unseen world. Do not underestimate what has taken place. This was not just another battle. This was not merely survival. What occurred between you and that entity was more than an encounter. It was a seismic shift. The way you stood, unshaken in the presence of something so dark, was more than resistance. It was revelation. It exposed something embedded within the very fabric of the unseen. It was not your words or actions that unraveled its purpose, but your existence itself. And for the first time, it faced something it could not overcome. You. Listen closely, for this is not just a story. It is the unveiling of your purpose. This moment stands as proof of who you are, of what you carry, of the magnitude of your destined impact. You were not placed here to remain hidden or to simply endure. You were placed here to shift the very course of what was meant to be. Even the darkest forces now know your name, not by choice, but by necessity. You are a disruption, a force that cannot be silenced, and now the truth is undeniable. This was never just about what you faced. It is about what changed because of you. From the moment you crossed its path, the hunt was no longer just a hunt. What was intended as your downfall became a crisis for the very being that sought to destroy you. It was not just that it failed, it was that it was altered in the process. It could not execute its plan as intended because it encountered something it had never known. A presence that could not be swayed, a force that could not be extinguished. Understand this: your light does not simply repel darkness, it disrupts, dismantles, and transforms it. Every attempt it made to strike at you fractured something deep within itself. It could not maintain its power in your presence because your very essence exposed its weaknesses. This was never about overpowering it with sheer force. It was about something far greater. A truth that cannot be erased, a presence that cannot be controlled. Every action it took to shake you only unraveled it further. The more it sought to break you, the more it faced something unfamiliar. Doubt. For the first time, it questioned its own power. It began to feel something foreign, something unthinkable: vulnerability. This was not mere failure, it was a dismantling of everything it believed it controlled. And the most terrifying part, it did not happen through a direct battle. It happened simply because of who you are. The light within you is not just illumination, it is disruption. It is the one force that darkness cannot manipulate. It is the essence that shatters deception, exposes hidden truths, and transforms what was once unchangeable. And now it knows. It knows you are something different, something it cannot control, something it never expected to encounter. Every attempt to break you resulted in the opposite. It found itself facing its own fear, its own flaws, even the traumas that shaped it into what it had become. You did not just resist, you forced it to look inward in a way it never had before. This impact extends far beyond you and it. What occurred in this encounter resonated through dimensions unseen, shifting the very layers of existence. C.S. once wrote, "I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun has risen, not only because I see it, but because by it I see everything else. Just as the sun allows all things to be seen clearly, your light exposed truths that had been hidden in darkness. When forces as powerful as light and darkness collide, the very fabric of reality is affected. Whether you perceive it or not, your existence and the way you confronted this moment sent ripples across creation. Your choices, your resolve, not only destabilized a dark being, but revealed to others, even those watching from afar, that it is possible to resist without losing oneself. This event is a milestone, a turning point beyond human comprehension. And now, the demon faces a truth it cannot escape. It came to destroy, yet it was transformed, not in an instant, but the process began the moment its strategies failed. The control it once had over itself began to crumble, making way for something it never expected: admiration. It began to realize that your strength was not physical, nor was it tied to anything external. It was something internal, unshakable, something it had never encountered in all its hunts. And this realization was not merely shocking, it was a direct challenge to its own identity. It tried everything: manipulative words, emotional assaults, illusions meant to distort your perception of reality. The goal was clear: to break you from within, to destabilize your certainties, to extinguish your light. It had mastered the art of exploiting weaknesses and had succeeded countless times before. But with you, something different happened. Nothing worked. You did not react with hatred, nor did you surrender to despair. With each attempt to control you, it met an immovable force. Your truth, your calm, your conviction. And this did not just confuse it, it infuriated it, because it shattered everything it thought it understood about power and control. But what unsettled it most was not just your resistance, it was how you saw through its illusions. It had long dominated others through doubt and fear, but you perceived beyond its deceptions. It was as if you were looking directly at its very essence, ignoring the veils of darkness it used to intimidate. This disarmed it in ways it had never known. It began to realize that your strength was not something to be conquered. It was something that could not be touched, a force beyond its reach. And because of that, nothing will ever be the same again. As it remained steadfast in its mission, something unexpected began to stir within it. An unfamiliar sensation, an unease that it had never encountered before. Doubt. Without any effort on your part, you compelled it to confront the very aspects of itself that had long been buried or ignored. This internal reckoning was unsettling, yet unavoidable. The demon had been created for destruction, yet for the first time, it began to question the purpose of its own existence. It realized that you were unlike any adversary it had faced before. You were different. More than that, you were forcing it to see itself in a way it had never been able to before. This was a truth it could neither escape nor control. This confrontation with its own nature began to alter it in ways beyond comprehension. For the first time, it felt as though the power was no longer in its hands, and what terrified it most was that, even in the face of this loss of control, it did not feel anger toward you. Instead, it felt something unimaginable: admiration. With every attempt to manipulate you, It was the one who found itself transformed. What had once been a battle to annihilate now felt like a lesson it needed to learn. It started to understand that this encounter was not merely about you, but something far greater. Deep within, it began to recognize that there was a reason it had been sent to you. This meeting was not an accident or a mistake. It was deliberate. You made it question everything, its mission, its very existence, and the very essence of what it meant to be, what it was. In seeking to destroy you, it came face to face with something indestructible, the truth. And this truth held a power so profound that it began to reshape something new within it. For the first time, it asked itself who it was beyond the role it had always played. The transformation was not immediate, it was slow, gradual, yet undeniable. Every encounter with you unraveled another layer, exposing its own choices, its own traumas, and most significantly, the nature of its existence. It had been sent to destroy, yet it found itself breaking apart from within. The very shadows that had once been its refuge began to dissolve, and in the midst of this unraveling, it experienced something it had never deemed possible: vulnerability. Strangely, this vulnerability did not weaken it. Instead, it illuminated truths that had been obscured for far too long. Perhaps it began to wonder, its purpose had never been to destroy, but to learn. As C.S. Lewis profoundly stated, pain insists upon being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our consciences, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. The pain of its transformation was not a form of punishment, but an awakening. In being forced to confront its own nature, something deeper emerged. It began to recognize that the strength you carried was not merely a shield against its darkness, but also a light inviting it toward change. It was not an act of aggression, nor an effort to redeem it, simply an unshakable presence that revealed a choice it had never considered. And that choice changed everything. For so long it had believed it was bound by the role imposed upon it. Now, for the first time, it saw another possibility. The process of change was painful. What had once been certainty now felt like doubt. What had once been control now felt like chaos. Yet within this chaos, it discovered something unexpected: freedom. It realized that it was not defined solely by the role it had played for so long. True strength was not found in exerting control over others, but in facing oneself. And this was what you had shown it, not through words, but through your presence, your authenticity, and your unwavering resolve. This transformation was not isolated. Its effects rippled far beyond the confines of your encounter. When something so fundamental shifts, it resonates across dimensions, altering the equilibrium between light and darkness. What transpired between you was not merely an interaction. It was an event that touched the very fabric of existence. Your ability to stand firm in the presence of the shadow without succumbing to it created a rupture in the age-old pattern that had governed the struggle between these forces. It was as though the very universe was re-evaluating the rules that dictated their interplay. This shift was neither sudden nor without consequence. The demon's transformation began to introduce new possibilities into the grand balance of forces. Where there had once been only destruction and conflict, there now existed the potential for something more, perhaps even integration. Your stance, rooted in truth and unwavering in its authenticity, had not only disarmed the demon, but had planted a seed of change that extended far beyond your own encounter. A seed that, though small, carried the potential to grow into something far greater. The eternal struggle between light and darkness had always been defined by opposition. Yet now, there was an element previously unconsidered: the possibility of mutual transformation. Without any deliberate effort, you had shown that confrontation need not be destructive to be effective. This did not mean that conflict had ceased to exist. The tension between light and darkness remained intrinsic to the balance of the universe. But what had changed was the nature of that balance. Your presence had proven that light did not need to annihilate darkness to prevail. It could instead transform it. This realization opened new pathways for the spiritual evolution of all who were touched by it, from the mortal realm to forces far beyond human comprehension. What had once seemed immutable was now fluid, full of new possibilities. For the demon, this new reality was unsettling. It had always known its purpose, had always carried out its missions with precision and certainty, but now everything it had once accepted without question had been upended. It was no longer simply about destroying or being destroyed. Now, for the first time, it had been given something it had never imagined possible: the opportunity to choose. It had never considered such a possibility before, and though the realization was daunting, it was also profoundly liberating. This confrontation opened a door to an entirely different path, one it had never imagined, and that changed everything. In this moment, the role of the Chosen One became undeniably clear. Your mission was never just personal, but collective. What transpired in this encounter was far more than a mere resolution of conflict or the transformation of a single being. You dismantled barriers that had long been closed, not only for it, but for all who wrestle with the perpetual tension between light and shadow in their own lives. Your stance, your resilience, and your unwavering truth became a testament to how even the darkest forces can be transformed into catalysts for growth and evolution. This is the essence of the Chosen One's role, not merely to change oneself, but to act as a force of profound transformation in the world. You never sought to save the demon, nor was that ever your goal. Instead, by remaining steadfast in your essence, you created the necessary space for it to face its own truths. Your presence, marked by authenticity and inner strength, became the spark for a transformation it had never before contemplated. This moment underscores the true nature of the Chosen One, not as one who enforces change, but as a catalyst for it, simply by existing and standing resolute amid the chaos. You did not impose transformation upon it, rather you revealed the possibility of an alternate path, and it is this freedom of choice that makes transformation genuine. This power to inspire change extends beyond this single encounter. It radiates into everything around you. Your ability to maintain inner peace, even in the face of immense adversity, generates a ripple effect that encourages others to do the same. It is not something you deliberately orchestrate. It simply occurs because you choose to be unwaveringly true to yourself. This fidelity to your essence is more than an act of personal strength. It serves as a reminder to those who witness your journey that true change originates from within. Your light does not waver in the presence of darkness, and this is something that even the demon was compelled to acknowledge. What unfolded in this encounter is evidence that the purpose of the Chosen One is not to obliterate darkness, but to integrate it. This does not mean condoning evil or dismissing its consequences, but rather recognizing that even within the shadows, there lies the potential for transformation. This approach is infinitely more difficult because it demands patience, resilience, and profound self-awareness. Yet it is also the only path that leads to genuine and lasting change. You embodied this truth effortlessly. Your unwavering presence did not merely disarm the demon, it laid the foundation for a new form of equilibrium. The mission you carry is arduous. Confronting darkness, whether external or internal, is a path that demands more than mere bravery. It requires an unrelenting commitment to truth. But it is precisely this commitment that sets you apart. The impact you had in this encounter is merely a reflection of the greater impact you wield in the world. Every choice you make, every time you allow light to take precedence over shadow, you generate waves of transformation that extend far beyond what you can perceive. This is what makes your journey so vital. The demon too now understands that its transformation was made possible only because you remained unshakable. It realizes that true power is not derived from sheer force or manipulation, but from the ability to remain steadfast in the face of chaos. This realization, though unsettling for it, is also liberating. It may not yet fully acknowledge it, but it knows that something within itself has been altered forever. And this change was only possible because you chose to remain true to yourself, without ever compromising your truth. This transformation extends beyond the demon. It reinforces the greater purpose that brought you to this moment. Your meeting was not a mere coincidence. Every exchange, every decision, every moment was part of something far greater, something that transcends what can be readily seen or understood. It was a convergence of light and shadow, a dynamic that has existed since the dawn of time and will persist for as long as balance must be maintained. You and it were not placed on the same path as adversaries, but as contrasting forces whose interaction held the potential to create something entirely new. This event is a reflection of an ancient cycle, one in which seemingly irreconcilable energies intersect, triggering transformations not only in those directly involved, but also in the fabric of the universe itself. Within this grand design, your role is clear. You are a living embodiment of resilience, of how one can face even the darkest forces without ever losing integrity. More importantly, you demonstrate that darkness does not need to be annihilated for light to prevail. This realization not only reshaped the dynamics of the encounter, but also served as a beacon for others struggling with their own internal battles. Just as you stood before the demon, countless others confront the shadows within themselves. Your unwavering stance and deliberate choices become a guide for those seeking to overcome their own trials. This encounter was more than a mere representation of the universal struggle between light and shadow. It was a reflection of the internal journey undertaken by every being. At some point, all must face the aspects of themselves they would rather ignore. But just as you confronted the demon with authenticity and fortitude, your story teaches that facing one's inner shadows is the first step toward transformation. Your presence and courage create an impact far beyond the immediate moment, inspiring others not just to resist darkness, but to transform what once seemed insurmountable. This is the true essence of the Chosen One, not to wage war against the shadows, but to integrate them in a way that fosters growth and harmony. The demon, now in the midst of its own metamorphosis, begins to grasp that this encounter was never just a trial for you. It was also a revelation for itself. It was forced to confront the one thing it had always evaded, its own vulnerability and the possibility of choice. For the first time, it understands that it is not bound to the role it has always played. It does not have to remain an agent of destruction. This realization, though unsettling, is also profoundly liberating. It begins to see that even those who have long dwelled in shadows can find another path, if only they possess the courage to face their own truths. This transformation for both of you is a reflection of something much greater. It is a testament to the reality that every encounter, every battle, and every decision holds the potential to be a gateway for something extraordinary. You did not merely alter the course of a being shrouded in darkness. You revealed that light, when unwavering and true, possesses the power to transform everything it touches. This lesson, though profoundly personal, carries universal significance. It is not a battle between light and shadow meant to be won, but a dance to be understood, and you, Chosen One, are an integral part of that balance. The demon that once stood before you is no longer the same. It was forced to confront truths buried deep within its essence, to see that it was never bound by the role imposed upon it, and to recognize possibilities it had never considered. All of this came to be because you remained true to yourself, not through force or control, but through authenticity and unwavering truth. This transformation is more than personal. It is proof that harmony between light and shadow is not just possible, but necessary. And this, chosen one, is the most powerful legacy you can leave. What you have done is not an isolated act, but a momentous shift in something far greater. You did not simply change a demon, you challenged a system built on fear and destruction. Your presence demonstrated that there is another way, that light does not need to wage war against darkness to triumph, but can instead integrate, redeem, and transform it. This understanding is not confined to this encounter, it permeates everything you do. Every choice you make reinforces this legacy, and every action you take creates new possibilities for those who witness your journey, often without you even realizing it. Your influence does not end here. What you have set into motion in this moment is merely the beginning of something far more profound. Your path will continue to lead you into trials where your light will be tested, where forces will attempt to divert you. But now you know the truth of what happens when you remain steadfast in your essence. You did not merely survive this confrontation, you emerged stronger, with greater clarity and deeper awareness of your role and the impact of your existence. This does not mean the challenges ahead will cease, but it does mean you now understand the purpose behind each one. You are not here to hide or merely endure. You are here to expand this light, to continue reshaping what must be changed. The transformation you ignited within the demon does not mean it became something entirely different overnight. Change is a process, and now it stands at the threshold of a path it had never before considered. Yet the very fact that it is no longer the same proves that your presence was enough to plant the seed of evolution. And this, above all, is the mark of the chosen one. Not to impose change, but to create the space where change becomes inevitable. You have shown that even those created to destroy can find another path when confronted with truth. And that truth does not stem from force, but from clarity and integrity in the way you live out your mission. Now the road before you stretches onward, filled with new encounters, new challenges, and new opportunities to amplify this impact. But one thing is certain, you are no longer who you were before. You walk forward with greater understanding, deeper wisdom, and an unshakable awareness of what it truly means to be chosen. This knowledge cannot be taken from you. It is now an intrinsic part of your being, a truth that will continue to guide every step of your journey. What you do from this moment forward will shape the lasting imprint you leave upon the world. But regardless of the trials ahead, one thing is undeniable. Your light will continue to alter everything it touches. If you have come this far, you already recognize that this encounter was never just about a demon seeking to destroy you. It was a test, a revelation, and a confirmation of the power you carry within. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "It may be hard for an egg to turn into a bird. It would be a jolly sight harder for it to learn to fly while remaining an egg." We are like eggs at present, and you cannot go on indefinitely being just an ordinary, decent egg. We must be hatched or go bad. This transformation was necessary. You could not remain as you were and still fulfill your purpose. You did not simply endure this confrontation. You reshaped it, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond your own experience. And now, chosen one, the truth stands before you. This was never just about survival, nor was it merely a test of resilience. It was a calling, an awakening that could not be ignored. You have stepped fully into your existence, not as one who merely withstands darkness, but as one who redefines it. The forces that once sought to break you now stand in recognition of what they could not subdue. They have come to understand what you have always carried within you, a truth that remains unshaken, a presence that cannot be denied. The demon that was sent to destroy you did not return victorious, nor did it return unchanged. It left with something it never anticipated: doubt in its own purpose, and, perhaps, the first ember of transformation within itself. Your journey does not end here. This is only the beginning. You are not merely a beacon in the darkness. You are a force that realigns the very nature of reality itself. Every step you take from this moment forward will send ripples through unseen dimensions, shifting the balance, altering the very fabric of existence. Understand this: your power is not found in battle, but in being. Your strength is not measured by the enemies you defeat, but by the truths you reveal. The weight of this moment does not rest solely on your shoulders. It is a signal to all who walk the path between light and shadow. You are living proof that even in the face of the deepest darkness, transformation is possible. And now, as you stand at the precipice of what comes next, remember, the world is watching. The unseen forces are waiting. The echoes of this moment will not fade. They will expand, reaching realms beyond imagination. This is your time. This is your purpose. Step forward, not as one who hopes, but as one who knows. Know that the light you carry is not just illumination, but revelation.